I think for me, social practice, it's been always linked to my practice as an educator or receiving educator in the art school. In Mexico City, the National School of Arts, it's still organized around the space of the workshop, and in some ways a little medieval structure where there's like the master, and then from the masters you have all these levels of pupils. But I mean, even though for the first time when you enter, it's really tough because there you feel this hierarchical structure where you don't have really a voice or a chance to do whatever you're interested into. It's technique what rules the space. In the other hand, then allows you to get involved in many processes that are not yours, are the master or the teacher, but that creates the space for learning many skills. And in one hand, it's not about authorship still. You know, you just learn how to prepare, I don't know, and I don't know how to say that, the base for a painting, canvas. Or you help to a canvas, or to you print someone else flake in wood, you prepare the ceramics paste. So they're very low. I mean, there's just work, basically, almost like labor. There's no creativity there. But for some reason, you definitely have to collaborate, but you can't do all by yourself. You just, you know, there's no way. I mean, and of course, materials are expensive and so on. So you need to get organized to buy the materials, to go and pick them up and so on. And I think that was the first experience, not enunciated. It's not like people will consciously support this, but it was just like self-organization. And then from there, so then that led to working in groupal projects, putting like a ceramics workshop with friends. And then because ceramics were so expensive, then we just start doing things in the streets or with video or with whatever. So ceramics were the pretext to start just working together. And then my first job was working in a strange clinic, like school clinic for kids, for disturbed kids, of course. So they thought like an artist was a good idea to be like some kind of mediator with some classes. That, of course, I always got like the most troubled and fantastic kids, but really troubled. And also there, it was just like the way to organize because they were so different. So I needed always to work with the teachers and the kids because it was not, I mean, I was very young, so I didn't have a clue how to teach a class. So again, the class was turning projects, not really into contents. Again, I just replicated what I learned, like this workshop structure around one technique, and then through that, just start doing whatever was possible to do. And I guess, well, for me, that's like well, and then got, of course, more engaged with other people who had way much more experience with me, and who were trained maybe as art therapists, or who were engaged in projects who develop education through the arts, or were engaged in communities, I don't know, indigenous communities in urban areas, or women's rights institutions. So from there, I just started learning a lot from peers, again, who were really artists, not really trained educators. So again, we were always, I started entering in many different organizations, like foundations or NGOs, you know, as a way of living first, but also then after just getting engaged with that, I just was very excited, like how these communal projects were more about developing, well, this kind of like closeness, or this, I'm not saying like in this ideal image of a community with no frictions, you know. Sometimes your presence is super difficult and you can be completely rejected and it feels completely artificial. And I mean, I remember the work, some work with these indigenous or urban indigenous teenagers who were in this very precarious institution. Well, the work with them was anger and rejection through like 6 months. So it was interesting, but also I was like the focus for anger and rejection. I mean, I took it, but of course after 6 months I was like, okay, I'm done. I mean, we won't keep working on this. I mean, and it was obvious, I mean, it was gonna be that way. Otherwise it was gonna be just so lame and so, well, as I said, artificial. And I guess from that, well, of course, then I enter into this master program at UCSD. And by the time I enter, I guess UCSD was, the University of California in San Diego was founded, or the program was founded by Adam Capro. And of course, and many other very interesting conceptual artists from the South California or Southern California area. So experimental video, performance, environmentalism, politics was present in the program. But I think by the time that was mid 2000s or something, like 2005, I guess the program was driven more by, well, technology, obviously, and conceptual practice, like Barbara Kruger was there teaching at the time. But then faculty entered, which changed completely the understanding of practice, like Teddy Cruz or Ricardo Dominguez or Keon Park. So I think that produced an interesting unbalance on how the program was understanding art practice. Not because there was not this conceptual or even critical or practices, but I think Ricardo, in combination with Teddy, opened up a space for this social practice to emerge, even though it's not named like that. There's not a social practice like feel or whatever, or actually there's no label for social practice here. Not even, now they're talking about like environmental, like not environmental as only ecology, but environmental art, I guess. That's what they're using the term here.